Yes, everybody, and welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Jacob Turner. He's Andrew Jones. And AJ, we're here for another daily drop presented by TarHeelIllustrated.com. Make sure you guys check out TarHeelIllustrated.com, by the way. Links in the description below. You can sign up for just $8.33 a month. I mean, AJ, how long have you been a publisher of this site? Is it 10 years yet? Nine years?
August 1st, 2014. We're the same price now we were then.
Wow.
It's almost 10 years.
Never changed the price once.
Same price. Never changed the price.
Not even a cent.
No.
Didn't even add a couple cents to it.
Wow. Not 1 cent. There was an option that was added about access to rival schools' message boards to read. That was added, and it's only like $2 a month. So you could choose, like you want Duke and State's message boards, Duke's for basketball recruiting, State's for football recruiting, for example. You pay a couple extra bucks, but otherwise, you wouldn't have access to their boards. You wouldn't be able to read it. Yeah. So we're the same price, the exact same. We haven't gone up one dime. And we need more subscribers because we need to produce more content like this. And I can't do everything. I've got to be able to pay people more to get them to do more and get more people to travel. I'm talking about you and Kevin going to the NCAA tournament and Final Four and stuff like that. It costs money to do business. So people think, well, why should I pay for your stuff if I get it for free? But you're not getting what you get on our site.
Exactly.
You're not getting free stuff from couch sites that they don't travel. They don't even go sit in the stands at games. So we're there. We're there in the locker room after the game. We're there. We know what's going on. We're totally clued in. Even though Dean is gone, we're still very clued in with football recruiting. We have 3 people on football recruiting now, as opposed to just 1.5 before. Yeah. So we're actually doing more with that. And once we get into football recruiting season, you'll see heavy part of the season, you'll see that as well. And David is unmatched when it comes to knowing insights and understanding his realm of the business. So there are other good ones too, especially, there's some good ones that cover North Carolina. There's enough room for a couple really good sites that cover North Carolina. We're one of them. So in the message board community, I bring this up all the time, man. We have a great message board community. It's not a bunch of children slinging mud at each other. It can get a little snippy sometimes, but it's a lot of really our game threads during games are great.
Yeah, it's positive.
Really, I go back and look at them. We have some really smart posters. So, and so much intel we get from the teams, from both basketball and football and recruiting intel. It's on the board. You're never ever gonna see it in any spot. You're not gonna hear it in any podcast. It's not good business to give it away like this. We are a business. This is my job. This is my career. So it's a significant part of what you do. It's a significant part of what Bryant Balcom now does. And get to know him. You're going to see a lot more of Bryant Balcom. It's the work that Kevin Roy does with photos. It costs money. It's not free. It's not cheap. So we need more subscribers so we can do more and give you guys even more.
Exactly. I always say that, think about we give YouTube content away for free. I know we have just some ads that run and we make some money off that, but I always look at it like this. Go sign up for the website because you're going to get access to a ton of content and a ton of perks that come along with being that. But even more so, think of it as a way to support the business. $8.33 a month. It's less than, I don't even know. We can even buy for $8.33 a month.
Well, yeah, I've been traveling a lot lately, and sometimes I'll go through and get a drive-through somewhere and take the bread off or something like that, and that's a drive-through meal is like $10, $12.
Yeah, if you're getting a combo, it's 10.
And here's another thing too, and I know we're shilling, so shameless, whatever. We don't ask for money on YouTube.
No.
So if you like our content, go subscribe. Try it out. It's only $8.33 a month for a 1-year subscription. Get a gift for somebody, so that we don't have a Venmo thing or a PayPal thing on our YouTube channel. We're not asking for money to contribute like a lot of people do, and there's nothing wrong with people do that. And maybe we might do that sometime soon.
Absolutely.
Just go sign up and become a member. You get more of it. You're still going to get these videos, but then you also get access to the site and all that stuff. And trust me, you'll be a Tar Heel insider. If you go to your kids' ball games and sit in the stands, you're going to be the guy that knows more than the others. 100%. If you're at the bar, if you're at the coffee shop, the water cooler, the golf course, whatever it is, you're the guy that's going to know more because you'll be reading David Sisk's tidbits on the board. So you'll know a lot more about a discussion right now people are having about Ian Jackson in case RJ Davis comes back for a 5th year. It's a very interesting discussion. It's one that I've stayed out of because a lot of times I will let those conversations breathe on their own without getting in the way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm doing with that one. But David's chimed in. It's a very interesting conversation. And there's some intel in that conversation as well. So if you want to know it, you got to be a member.
Yeah, man. Come on.
How much?
Be a Carolina Insider too. $8.33 a month. And again, it's a way to support. The more money we make, the more we can do. More on YouTube, more on our website. And again, that's more content for you guys in the long run. So again, go ahead and get signed up. Links in the description below. Big thank you to everybody that is signed up and everybody that is thinking about doing it. Go ahead and take that leap of faith. I know you won't regret it.
I think that's officially the longest shameless plug we've ever done.
Got to do it, man. Got to do it.
Especially on a drop.
Yeah, so we got to do it. You got to, again, it's like anything. The support means a lot for us, and again, means we can do more content for our fans and for our subscribers. So, AJ, we're here to talk about RJ Davis, potential National Player of the Year conversation. Is that a legitimate conversation and a legitimate possibility with the season that RJ is having? So, just I know you've got some names on the list that are up there. I know Zach Edey and RJ are two of the biggest guys, with Zach Edey probably being the front runner right now. When you look at RJ's stats, front runner, and I think he solidified ACC Player of the Year with the performance against Miami. But just a couple of stats: 21.7 points per game, leads the league. He's been leading the league for what feels like all season. Leads them in scoring, 6th in the NCAA in scoring as well, only behind Zach Edey, who I believe is at number 2 in terms of Power 5 conferences. So out of those 6 guys, 1 through 6, Edey and RJ are the only 2 guys from Power 5 conferences in that top 6. So for me, he's having a spectacular year when it comes to scoring wise. He's obviously incredibly important for what Carolina's doing this year. And again, if you're ACC Player of the Year, I think you deserve to be in the conversation, at least in the conversation for National Player of the Year. So AJ, when you look at it, do you think it's a legitimate possibility, or are we maybe reaching and stretching a little bit with that potentially happening for him?
If you're ACC Player of the Year on a team that is right now slotted as a 1 seed,
yeah,
absolutely. But the names I've cobbled together here, I just went and looked at what some of the national guys have been throwing out there because full disclosure, I don't watch every game that Jamal Sheed and Houston play. I can't, and I'm fully focused on what I'm doing, but I have seen him play. I've seen Dalton Connect to Tennessee play. I've seen Tristan Newton of UConn, covered them this year, saw him play in person. I've seen Zach Edey play in person 3 times at least, not this year, but 3 times. I saw him twice at Mohegan Sun a couple of years ago, stood 5 feet away from him during warmups just to get a gauge on how tall he is, and he's enormous.
I believe it.
I've stood next to Ralph Sampson, actually at an ACC tournament. They used to have a hospitality room, and legends and former players would come in there and media. And I stood there and had a beer with Ralph Sampson. And by the way, it was like a shot glass in his hand.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe that.
12 ounce beer. So I've stood next to Ralph Sampson, 7'4", and Edey's about 7'3", 7'4". It's about the same. Edey's thick, though. He's thicker than Sampson was when Sampson played in college. Huge. So I've seen him play, and he's a lot better now than he was when I saw him in the Mohegan Sun. I saw him later on that year lose to St. Peter's.
Yep.
I was sitting right behind Matt Painter because that was my spot that night for that game, and then the Carolina UCLA game. So I've seen a lot of these guys play. I think that RJ, and by the way, Edey's team is a 1 seed, UConn's a 1 seed, Houston's a 1 seed. So you could be talking of the 5 guys mentioned with Connect being on Tennessee and probably a 2 seed. You could have a guy from each of the 1 seeds. So those are the 5. There's some other players that are on some people's list. I don't think Caleb Love's on that list. His shooting percentages and what it should be. I think he's runaway Pac-12 Player of the Year, and he's had a great year. And I think it's really cool, really, really cool that Caleb and RJ could both win Player of the Year in their leagues. And I think it'd be really neat if they're both first-team All-America.
That would be
I think Caleb has a much better chance of that, obviously, than really being the National Player of the Year contention. And a lot of that's still to be determined. So I think the thing that RJ has going in his favor as far as being the guy that can maybe still make more of a push is that he is a ball handler. The ball's in his hands, and he's supposed to score. Sheed averages 13 points a game. He also averages over 6 assists. He's almost like 3 steals. It's a lot of stuff he does. Really good all-around player, but he's not a high-volume scorer. So he's not going to probably do anything the next 2 weeks, and people are going to say, oh, my gosh, look at that, like RJ did Monday. Newton needs somebody to get him the ball, although he can slash and he can get on the ball and stuff like that. He can create shots for himself, but he's not going to be on the ball so much like RJ will, even when Elliott's in the game. Connect needs people to get him the ball in the wing. He can slash, but he needs a point guard to distributing the ball. Edie absolutely needs someone to get him the ball.
Mm-hmm.
RJ is going to be more ball dominant than anybody on this list. And he is as good as anybody in the country at creating his own shot. He gets separation. It doesn't need much separation to get shots off. So if anybody is going to make a push and challenge Edie for National Play of the Year, I think RJ is that guy because of those reasons. And Carolina has another extremely high profile game remaining, and that's the one at Duke.
True.
So he just did what he did on Monday, and people were watching. 5 weeks earlier, he went for 36 on Monday night when people were watching. North Carolina's North Carolina. There's a brand thing there. Purdue has a couple bad losses.
Mm-hmm.
What if Purdue has another bad loss and he doesn't play well? And what if RJ, you go into Cameron, we were talking in our basketball pod about how RJ, they don't really need him to go for 35 the next 2 games against State and Notre Dame, but maybe against Duke they will, because the whole thing is just get a win there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a tournament game. Just get the win and get the heck out of there. What if he goes for 35 in Cameron? And he does it the way he did it the other night. I mean, the other night, he scored 42 in a nip and tuck game. The weight game, Carolina had a pretty good lead. So he was just making shots. The other night, he was making absolutely crucial shots, scoring crucial points. At Duke, it'll probably be that way, and the whole nation will be watching. So he has the best chance of this group to skip over Zach Edey. I don't think anybody's going to do it. Edey's posting a little bit better numbers than he did even a year ago. And I think they're a better team than they were a year ago. Purdue ain't going down in the first round. But
you would hope not.
I really would, because I would hate to think that that's what those guys get remembered for, because they're pretty good.
Yeah,
they're a really good point guard too. Maybe this is their year. Maybe there's a little UVA 2018, 2019 going on there. Although I think UVA was better in 2019 than Purdue is right now. I think they were a better team.
Fair.
I think they have more pros too. So that's sort of my take on it. Yeah, I think he's a lock for ACC Player of the Year, so his jersey will go up. If he wins National Player of the Year, then if it's unanimous, his jersey will get retired. I don't think he'll get unanimous, but he could sneak in and get one of those outlets that give him National Player of the Year. I know that Kenny Smith was the Sporting News Player of the Year nationally, and that got his jersey honored up there. In the way that it was. Jerry Stackhouse was Sports Illustrated National Player of the Year his sophomore year, but he wasn't unanimous National Player of the Year. Jordan in 1984. In 84, Jordan won some National Player of the Year awards, but Ralph Sampson was more than National Player of the Year, because that was his last year. So he could maybe sneak in one of those, which would be pretty cool. It wouldn't get his jersey retired, but gets his jersey retired as unanimous. So
that'd be really cool to just chronicling his journey from freshman to now and to see that, because ACC Player of the Year seems like a lock. So he does seem like a guy who's going to have his jersey in the rafters at the Smith Center. That's really cool to seeing where he came from his freshman year. But this is I just want to ask you this before we head out of here. Is it a positive for, let's say RJ wins that. Let's say he ends up winning National Player of the Year. For me, like we talked a little bit about this, the basketball show, for that to happen, he's going to have some really big performances, I think, scoring wise, again, through the next few games for that to happen. We've talked about how that isn't a positive really for North Carolina as a basketball team. So I want to ask you, let's say RJ does win that National Player of the Year. Is that good for Carolina? Is that a good sign for Carolina as a basketball team going in to the regular or to the postseason? Is that good, or is that more like that's great for him, but it's not really a great thing for this basketball team as a whole? How do you feel about that?
Well, I think it depends. We kind of ironed out a scenario that's not great for this team in our basketball show.
Yeah,
I'm looking up Purdue's schedule right now. So I think he could go 20-20, 20 against State, 20 against Notre Dame, and like 35 against Duke, which is totally possible.
That's fine against Duke, like you said. You just win that game.
Yeah,
just win it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he could do that and still be in the conversation. I'm going to Purdue here. I'm looking at Purdue's schedule because I want to see if there's some losses there. And remember, Purdue lost to Ohio State a couple weeks ago.
Yep. They have had some losses.
They've proven they can lose to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They play Michigan State at home Saturday. Michigan State's coming off a loss. So, Izzo's Izzo. They got some players.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Illinois.
That's tricky.
And they host Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin's kind of fallen off. Indiana beat them last night. Wisconsin's fallen off, but Wisconsin can defend.
Mm-hmm.
If they could cast a net around Edey and force Purdue to beat them from the outside, play a slower pace that Purdue's not comfortable with, and win that game. So I would say these last 3 games they have coming up, they're playing 3 teams that are physical, 3 teams that are going to defend, 3 teams that will put bodies on Zach Edey and could maybe affect his productivity. Whereas Carolina plays NC State, which tends to be a little indifferent defensively. RJ could do enough and Carolina get a big win. Then they go up against Notre Dame, young team. I think an improving team. I think Shrewsbury's doing a nice job there, but RJ can go 20 and the team win big. And then they go to Duke and RJ could go completely crazy in that game.
Yeah.
And if all that happens, then yeah, I think so. Because in sports, we like to hoist people up and then quickly knock them off. And I think there might be people, especially if Edey struggles a little bit, that are looking for a reason to not vote for him because they voted for him last year. That's just how many people win the Heisman 2 years in a row.
That's a good point.
They pick at their game. We tend to pick at the Heisman's game a little bit more in the quarterback's game. People aren't picking at Edey because they're winning enough. But if Carolina's coming and RJ's coming, I think he's the guy that can do it. There's no doubt about it. Now, it's going to take an awful lot. Purdue's really good. I think Purdue loses at Illinois.
But wouldn't surprise me.
But if they're probably going to need to lose one of those home games and Edey have like 12-10. And I'm saying 12-10 like that's pedestrian. People are pretty excited if Armando goes 12-10. So It's still a really good performance. But if Braden Smith and some of those other guys aren't hitting, they're going to lose those games. So I think that's what it comes down to. I think there's a chance. I don't think it's a great chance, but I think that's the scenario where RJ could do it and it not hurt Carolina, not be a bad sign for Carolina that he has to score too much. I don't think he has to go 40-40-40. I think he can go 20, 18 or 20. I can go 20, 20, and 35. I think that's the kind of thing that might get it done. And people should know that the voting is done after that. It has nothing to do with the postseason.
Yeah.
So that's a different award. He could win the Everett Case Award, and then he can go on and win an MOP or an East Regional or West Regional MVP and an MOP. There's a lot of things that are still out there.
Oh, of course. Yeah, of course. And Carolina.
But we do know his jersey will be up there. We know his jersey will be up there. Number 5 is going to be up there too. I was asking him about that last week. Some of the people pounced on it, but I was asking him about it last week. I ran stuff last summer. We were talking about it, about amending. I don't want to get into it now. We'll do another drop about that later, but I think 5 will be up there. 4 and 5 will be up there.
Pretty cool when you think about it. Just seeing their journeys from where they came and the struggles of this they've had at their time at Carolina and the really highs they've had at their time at Carolina a couple of years ago. It's always that's the cool part about this job, and it's cool part about being a fan too, and all the fans watching, of seeing that growth with an individual, especially an 18-year-old kid coming into a prestigious program like North Carolina. But yeah, it's amazing, having a fantastic year, man. The fact that we're even having this drop right here shows you how good of a year he's having. And again, coming off that Miami, that solidified for me that it wasn't even really a debate for me, to be honest with you, anyway, when it came to ACC Player of the Year. But for that, check mark that one, give him that trophy already.
If anybody was charging him, like we're talking about RJ maybe charging Edey, it was Hunter Salas.
Yeah.
And he had the perfect game to kind of get into the back end of that conversation against Duke. And then the Notre Dame thing, he scored 7 against Notre Dame. The night after RJ goes for 42, that conversation's over. RJ is a lock for ACC Player of the Year. I want to see, this is a different pod too, but is there a path for Armando to still be first team All-ACC?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
Maybe we'll do that next week. I think let's see how he does against State, because I think there is a path.
I do too.
And I think that a third time first team All-ACC guy should absolutely be up in the rafters as a lock. I think the all-time leading rebounder should be up there, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll see how Armando does in that game. And if he goes like 16 and 13, I think absolutely. Because he's been a lot better this year than most people are giving him credit for. I'm going on Twitter again with some people about it. I only choose to respond every once in a while. But his defense has been outstanding most of the time. His floor game on offense has been really, really good. He's been much more of an NBA prospect now than he was a year ago. So let's see what he does Saturday. He'll make me look bad, and he'll go 4 points, 4 rebounds, and foul out Saturday.
Just because we're talking about it right now.
I'd like to see him do it. He's a good guy. People need to appreciate. He's given his school 5 years. People need to appreciate it. People need to appreciate RJ. He's given him 4 years. RJ stuck around. A lot of guys with Caleb Love over there would have said, "No, I'm not doing this again." Mm-hmm. And RJ stuck around. And I know that he and Caleb had some differences and stuff, but they still got to a title game. As freshmen, they got to the tournament. They still got to a title game the next year. Last year was just a mess. I mean, it wasn't on them. It was on everybody. So,
yeah. I think that's what makes it even cooler this year. Like I said, with the season he's having, when you look at the struggles as a team they had last year, the season North Carolina's having, the rebuild roster wise that they were able to do, and then the just absolutely fantastic season that RJ's having as an individual. So we'll see what happens. Let's do this. Reach out to us on Twitter at Heel Illustrated when this drops. So we'll bring this out on Friday morning. Let us know. Do you think RJ's a legitimate contender for National Player of the Year? And if you do as well, just like the video below. If you think RJ's a legitimate candidate for National Player of the Year, like the video below, and that way, or get involved on Twitter too. That way we can kind of see what you guys are thinking. And AJ, so we spent 55 minutes talking about in the beginning of this video. If you're a premium subscriber to TarHeelIllustrated.com, you can go on the message boards as well and get involved over there with this discussion. So plenty of ways to get involved in the conversation, and we always love hearing from you guys. So make sure you do that. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones.
And if you choose to subscribe now and you're a new subscriber, reach out to us. Let us know. Reach out at Heel Illustrated. Just say, let us know. Send us a DM. All I'm going to say right now is just reach out. Yeah. Maybe I'll cook up something.
We'd love to know.
I'll get my daughter to, since she's cooking all the time now. I'll get my daughter.
We appreciate you guys' support as always again, and make sure you do let us know, as we really do care about our awesome community over here at TarHeelIllustrated.com. I've been Jacob Turner. He's been Andrew Jones. Another edition of the Daily Drop. See y'all next time, and I appreciate y'all watching. Thanks.